Welcome to the City Manager's Report. The City Manager's Report, a look at city updates and municipal news, and a preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda. Your hosts, Emily Springstrow of Oshkosh Media and City Manager Mark Roloff.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us on GovTV for your City Manager's Report, your source for all the most current things happening right here in Oshkosh, all of the biggest city updates and projects, as well as a preview of the upcoming City Council meeting agenda. And I'm your host, Emily Springstrow, joined by your City Manager, Mark Roloff. Welcome, Mark.
Happy to be here.
Yes, and we're going to go ahead and dive right into our hot topics for the first half of today's show, take a little break, and then we will return with a review of the council meeting agenda for Tuesday, October 11th, 2016. So, Mark, we took a little break here, the two of us. We weren't here in the last show. It was John Urban and John Fitzpatrick filling in, and both for very different reasons.
Yes, yours were much happier than mine.
Yes. So you notice my last name has changed. So I was off for a couple weeks for the wedding and honeymoon, and now I'm back and ready to dive right into our topics. So, Mark, first thing that we wanted to talk about is last week the Winnebago County put on a program detailing the Just Fix It campaign. So that took place Thursday, September 29th, and a lot of discussion on budget for transportation projects. And you were part of that discussion. Tell us about it.
This is really a statewide initiative that was being put forward by the Transportation Development Association of Wisconsin and also the League of Wisconsin Municipalities, which is why the city got involved. But the TDA, which is Transportation Development Association, they asked that we put together something in every single county throughout the state. So the footage we have is just from our Winnebago County meeting, and it drew a pretty good crowd of local officials, cities, towns, villages, county, all levels of local government to talk about transportation and how important it is for all of us.
Definitely. And we took a couple of sound bites out from the presentation. We were there covering it. So let's go ahead and take a listen to what we have there.
Primarily GTA and tax levy are the two things that we use to pay for maintaining our roads. And while this is a nice increase in GTA, it doesn't come close to matching the levels of funding we need to keep up on some of the maintenance.
What I think we keep on talking about is that we've got a balloon with so much air in it, and all we're doing is moving the air in the same balloon. We need a bigger balloon with more air, and I think we got to be honest about it. And to the credit, now we have a dedicated highway fund, so at least all the money stays in the highway fund. And personally, if I know that the money is going to be used for what it's designated to be, I have less of a problem paying for higher taxes or user fees. And I think that, at least from my perspective, that's the message that we need to do. If Wisconsin is open for business, it's no good if you can see the business but you can't get there.
So a lot of really good things discussed here. We heard a couple of the main points. Maybe, Mark, you can give us a little more of an overview of some of the bigger things that were talked about.
Well, what our County Highway Commissioner Ernie Winters talked about, GTA is general transportation aids. And it's being proposed for an increase in general transportation aids, but it's being done at the expense of major capital projects throughout the state. And one of the things we discussed were that there are a lot of projects at the local level that need to get done. For example, the Highway 10 441 interchange in the northern part of the county, which even though we're down in the southern part of the county, that's still very important to us for our economy. And similarly, we have to take a broader view at the state level because the Zoo interchange down in Milwaukee that's still underway, we had statistics that 50% of all the products that come out of Oshkosh make their way through that Zoo interchange. So if you don't think that it's important for our economy, you really need to see those statistics. So transportation funding is as Dave Borsick was saying, and he's representing a business in town, that if you're just moving a balloon around and now a little bit of money is going into general transportation aids, but the large capital projects are getting sacrificed, eventually that's going to turn around and then they're going to put more in capital but less in general transportation, and that's going to hurt us at the local level because we're just getting a smidgen of an increase in general transportation aids. So while it's an increase, it's not anywhere near what we spend on roads. So we are still subsidizing roads with property taxes, because that's basically our major funding source. So it's great to get a little more transportation aid, but eventually the tables are going to turn.
There's so much more that we need.
There's so many more needs. And we've been very fortunate in Oshkosh that some of the major highway projects have been done, but as you look elsewhere, we depend on all of these roads, whether there's rural roads to get to markets or major interchanges that we all use. They're all important in the transportation realm. So I think it's really to draw awareness to the issue.
Definitely. And we had a great turnout at that discussion that took place on the 29th. What's next for this campaign? What are the next steps? I mean, we're trying to educate people and make people aware, but what's next for on this list?
I think part of it is educating the public about this issue like we're doing now, and then also making our legislators aware about the impacts. We didn't specifically invite legislators to this meeting. Some people did show up throughout the state, but the idea is we wanted to get local officials to work together. Now I think we need to take this on the road literally and show our legislators examples of why we need these roads repaired.
Definitely. Well, great. Thanks for that update, Mark. Next thing we want to discuss here and actually just mention is that there is early absentee voting available here in Oshkosh, and we want to make the public aware of what exactly those dates are and where people are able to vote a little bit earlier.
Early voting starts on Monday, October 17th. That's going to be at City Hall. So October 17th to the 21st, it'll be right here at City Hall from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., basically regular City Hall hours. Of course, bring a photo ID. That's the new law. We want to make sure everybody's aware of that, so you don't have to come back, and we don't want you to do that. So come with your photo ID. But after that week, then we're going to do early voting at the convention center. We had really good success with this in 2012, and we got a lot of good positive feedback from the public because there's plenty of parking. You can get in and out very quickly, and there's a place to get in the queue if you're getting there. You wait in the queue just as long as you do on election day there. I don't want to make any bones about that. But if it's more convenient for you to vote and you get out to vote as a result of it, absolutely take advantage of it. Now that's going to be beginning on October 24th, and it's going to be Monday through Friday, weekdays, from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. The very last day, Friday, November 4th, is the last day you can do early voting, and we stay an extra half hour. We're allowed to stay open in that extra half hour, and so we're going to do it. So you'll be able to stay till 5. So if you're running out from work on that day and you want to try to get early voting in, show up and we'll take care of you.
Definitely. And all this information will be available on the city website too. So if you didn't get a chance to jot it down during the show, just go to the city website. It's right there. And while we're talking about voting and the election, we got to give a little plug to the League of Women Voters Candidates Forum happening on October 6th. It's going to be live on GovTV, OshkoshMedia.org, and Oshkosh FM. And it'll also be replayed up until Election Day. And you can just check our website at Oshkosh Media for those air times on GovTV and on our website. So got to give a little plug to that, get a little bit educated about the election before going out and voting, whether you're voting early or voting on Election Day. There
you go. I think it's a great place to get some good information before you head to the polls. Like you said, whichever way you choose to vote.
Definitely. And then we got to give a plug. It's that time of year now, Mark. The leaves are changing. It's cooling off. It's October. And Zulaween Boo is coming up on the 15th and 16th of October from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Are you going to be out there at all this year, Mark?
Well, my kids are getting a little older, but it is a fun family event.
Fun.
And so this is one of the biggest events we have with the Parks Department, with the program. So come on down to Menominee Park, enjoy the zoo. You get to all the trick-or-treat stations, bounce house, the concessions, games, all those fun things. And these are photos from previous Zulaween Boos. The feedback we get from the families that attend is just fantastic. So you can get your tickets in advance at the Parks office. Festival Foods is another sponsor of this, so you can even get the tickets over there.
Definitely.
Great family event. Encourage you to go.
Yes, and you can get the tickets the day of, but it's encouraged to get them ahead of time. Otherwise, you'll be waiting in line because it's a very popular event too. And following that on Saturday also is the Monster Bash, which I'm planning on going to. It's like an adult trick-or-treat Zulaween Boo. So make sure you check out the Parks website. They've got a lot of information on there, or call Jenny at at 236-5089 for more information. Also, another seasonal update, Mark, is leaf pickup is starting next week already. People are going to be wanting to start raking up their leaves and collecting those for October 10th, which is the day it's going to be beginning next Monday.
There aren't a lot of leaves out there, but for those folks who do get it, we're going to make sure we get started. So it's the day after garbage collection. And of course, you know, as our video show, we don't want you to rake the leaves into the street. That can clog up the storm sewers. Keep them on the terrace. We'll get them. We got that big vacuum that has like that, it looks like a big elephant trunk, and it'll pick up the leaves very easily from your terrace. It doesn't tear it up or anything. It's very easy. So, you know, please do that. And we'll continue that through the fall. And we know that some trees decide to drop their leaves early, some later. So we'll accommodate your needs.
Yes, there are other opportunities after this leaf pickup week, whether that be another leaf pickup session, or you can go to the yard waste collection site. And also got to make a note, only leaves, no brush or grass need to be piled. Don't put sticks and everything, because that will clog up our machines.
And get it out by 7 a.m. There's no guarantee on when we're going to get there. You know, we get caught up in something, we may not get there, but that doesn't mean that the following week we won't be there earlier. So try to get it out by 7 a.m.
All right. So, Mark, that concludes the first half of our show. It's now that time of the show where viewers have the opportunity to ask their city manager anything that they want about things that are happening right here in Oshkosh. It's our question mark segment. So let's go ahead and see what the question mark question is this week. Our question this week is, when will Main Street be opening up? I think that's a question a lot of us have been asking lately.
Yeah, it's amazing when a street gets taken out for a while, you start wondering about that. But very good news, the project is proceeding very well, and we anticipate that it'll be done by the second week in November. So keep an eye on it. If you look down the street a little bit from either New York or Murdoch and look at a ways, you see, you know, some of the concrete's getting poured and getting really starting to take shape. But you know, we have to keep it, we have to let the concrete cure. Sometimes it takes a little longer as the weather starts to get a little cooler. So we'll be getting it done very, very shortly. But we'll probably talk about it at the next CMR and even the one after that. I think by the time 2 more shows are on, we'll probably be announcing that it's opening.
All right, hopefully before Thanksgiving and all that crazy traffic time.
I always look at it, these are done before deer hunting season. You can count on it, everybody. A lot of contractors, they want to go out, so don't worry, it'll be done by Thanksgiving.
Wonderful. So the street projects are kind of starting to come to a close here with this season ending, isn't it?
Yeah, this will be towards the end, and you know, we've got a couple big projects. We got Bowen, and then we've got this one on Main Street. So yeah, they'll be closing up soon, and Bowen Street's also on schedule, and so it's doing well. So by the time Thanksgiving comes around, things will be pretty much back to order.
Good. Construction season in Wisconsin will be coming to a close.
Yes, indeed.
All right. Well, if that was a great question. If you'd like to send a question to Mark, you can send it to us on Facebook or Twitter, or email it to questionmark@ci.oshkosh.wi.us, and he'll answer it on the next episode of City Manager's Report. We're going to take a very brief break, and we'll be right back with the council meeting agenda coming right up after this.
Most Wisconsin voters already have a photo ID
If you don't,
You can get a free Wisconsin state ID
before the next election.
to get your free ID, head to the Division of Motor Vehicles.
and take a few documents with you.
Proof of your name, date of birth, and U.S. citizenship, like a certified birth certificate. If you don't have a birth certificate or other documents, the DMV can still help you get a free ID for voting. For a complete list of the documents you can use, visit bringit.wisconsin.gov. And don't forget to bring your ID to the ballot.
Welcome back to City Manager's Report. Thanks again for joining us. And now we're in the second half of the show. We're going to go ahead and dive into the City Council meeting agenda for Tuesday, October 11th, 2016. So Mark, the first thing that we want to mention on the agenda here is the note at the very beginning for the 5 o'clock workshop on the municipal court. That's going to be taking place in room 404. We'll be covering it on GovTV. Give us a little bit of an overview of what's going to be discussed at this workshop.
Well, the council had given me some direction to conduct a study about the feasibility of a municipal court. And so this is the culmination of that. We've spent several months meeting with different people in different communities, local judges, other municipal courts, employees and departments and whatnot, people who are involved in either being part of a potential municipal court or our current court system, because we don't have a municipal court. We use the circuit court, which is right here. So there's a lot of things to look at. But specifically what we're going to be looking at is the effectiveness or the relative pros and cons of a municipal court versus maintaining the current court system, or the disadvantages if we did do a municipal court. There's pros and cons to the argument. Additionally, one of the things we learned was that startup costs were often overlooked with other communities that did this. So we've done a pretty thorough analysis of what it would entail to start up a court, because we think that's important to have that information out there. And then lastly, just looking at ongoing revenues and expenses that would be associated with establishing a court, and how effective is that does it cost money, does it raise money, that type of thing. So that's the information we're going to be providing to the council, and from that point then they take it from there in terms of evaluating what next steps they want to take, whether they want to proceed with it or whether they don't proceed with it.
Okay, so you'll kind of just be going through the different factors that they want to take into account when looking at this issue. Is this something we might see on a future agenda, or it just kind of doesn't make a difference?
Generally, the council has asked me that within 30 days of a workshop that we bring it back for some direction. It's also budget season, so that'll add to that discussion. With courts, you have to implement it by December 1, or at least make your intent clear, because if you do have a municipal court, you have to have an election for a municipal judge. So you have to start the whole process just like with council members. So it would start in, you'd have to make a decision before December 1st. So I imagine they would do that. It would likely be later on anyway because of startup costs as well as facilities, which is another issue we're going to talk about.
Sure. Well, sounds like a lot of great information. So make sure you tune in at 5 o'clock on GovTV for the Common Council workshop on the municipal court. Next item we want to discuss, Mark, is item number 5, Resolution 16-481, and that is support legislation to reform commercial property tax assessment. For those of us who aren't familiar with this legislation, tell us a little bit about it.
Well, this hits home very closely because the city was engaged in a lawsuit regarding property tax assessments for Walgreens, which is happening throughout the state. There was a Supreme Court case that we felt we had something that was different from them, but it was ruled against us. So we feel that there is an unfairness in the law. The way the law is written is our assessors have a certain protocol that they're supposed to follow in doing assessments, and they've been following that. The Supreme Court said that that's not right, so there's a conflict, and that really needs to get resolved. Meanwhile, a lot of commercial establishments have been looking at the Walgreens case and saying, well, what about us? And now they're starting to make this other argument that's called the dark store theory. And what they're saying is that you shouldn't price us based on our current use. You should value our land on us not being open and being vacant, because that's really the true value. Well, that's like saying trying to take your or my house and value it when it's vacant rather than when it's filled. Properties get valued at their highest and best use, not their lowest and worst. So the logic just doesn't make sense. What we're trying to do is put in some common sense into what's happening with commercial property tax assessments and reform it to restore it to what its original intent was. And so we've been working very closely with the League of Wisconsin Municipalities, and we need to be engaged in these types of things. We're one of the largest cities in the state, and we were impacted by this. So we can't sit by the sidelines anymore and not let this let this go by.
Definitely. Well, thank you for the background on that, and we look forward to hearing more about it at the meeting. Next item we want to talk about, Mark, is item number 7, Resolution 16-483. It's a longer item. Approve conditional use permit and plan development for construction of a university intramural recreation field complex. Tell us about it.
It's really exciting. This has been going on for a number of years, and this is something at the university. Kind of has a little bit of a cool factor, but it was just discussed at a recent plan commission. And what it is, it's an outdoor field that can be converted in with a large bubble that makes it a year-round type of facility that can be used for recreation over at the university. And recreation and exercise is very important, and the university wants to promote this. The students are paying an extra fee to get this site, which is really along Pearl, just west of Wisconsin Avenue and just north of where the university's Alumni Welcome Center is. And they're proposing to put this complex that during the summertime it'll look like plain old field. It'll be a soccer field with a concrete barrier around it. But in the winter, this bubble will basically make it self-contained, that it can be used 12 months out of the year. And it'll be the same field that they've always seen, but it's going to be covered and secured from a heat standpoint and from the elements, so that it can be used on a year-round basis. So this is during the summer when it's not when the bubble's not on it. But the whole idea is that year-round recreation can be used. I think the university is also hoping that they can maybe attract some tournaments or other types of recreational events to the university when the students are not using it. But it's been on the drawing board for a great deal of time. The state has given their approval for the university to pursue it, so they're coming to us to get final approval. And there are some utilities that go through that area, some really large utilities, so we had to work with the university to make sure that we can still access them. We don't want any utilities to fail in that area, but if they did, we'd need to get in there and kind of push things out of the way.
Okay, well, what a cool project. And it's an awesome thing for here in Oshkosh, because during the winter things tend to shut down and be kind of quiet. So it'll be great to be able to continue the intramurals and other things going on.
Oh, absolutely.
Next item is one that a lot of people are talking about, item number 13, Resolution 16-489. That's approval of the rental inspections fee schedule and inspection checklist and 5-year cycle map. Now, council adopted this ordinance last meeting. Tell us a little bit about what exactly this checklist is and the map that they're going to be talking about this time.
Now that council has adopted the ordinance, we need to work on the administrative issues. We don't include the fee schedule in our ordinances anymore because it makes it difficult when you're updating those fees. So this first off is to establish the fee schedule so everybody knows what it is. There was some criticism that, well, the fee schedule isn't in there. It was never intended to be in the ordinance. It's always been intended to be on the resolution. So this will formalize that and get that out of the way. Similarly, there's an inspection checklist, and that's very important because we want people to know, what we're going to be looking for.
What kind of things are going to be on that list? I mean, is it one of those things that you can look at and say, okay, is this all right in my unit? Is that okay in that unit?
It'll be very easy. In fact, what we'll do is we want to publicize the checklist because we want people to be able to be aware of what these issues are. Every single issue on that checklist is something that is health and safety code related. It's not something that we dreamed up. These are codes that are required to be followed, and a lot of people aren't necessarily aware of them as tenants, so this will help make them aware of those issues and take a look and say, yeah, I'd like you to come and take a look at these for us. So we're going to work very closely with the landlords, a lot of whom are not very happy with this, but we're trying to work with them, and we will continue to work with them. And then also to protect the health and safety of our residents, a lot of whom are students who are renting for the first time and are largely unaware of what health and safety codes mean. I mean, they've depended on their parents to be able to provide that, and people that don't have experience in that type of area, we can help identify problem areas. If there's no problems, we'll move on, but it's just the things on that checklist and nothing more.
Wonderful. So that's a good idea of what the inspection will look like. In addition to that, you're talking about a 5-year cycle map. What's the purpose of the map?
The purpose of the map is to get everybody to understand when and where we're going to be going. So we've developed a map that we're going to have the council approve. So this is the draft map, but it shows we're going to start in the central part of the city for year 1, the east central part of the city in year 2, and then go south year 3, north year 4, west year 5. So everybody can understand. We want the checklist to be out there so people know what to look for, and if they identify a problem, fix it up now. That would be great, because when we come through, then we're not going to see any problems and we can move on. But we will, regardless of that schedule, we'll still notify people within the year that they're on the schedule we'll give them a 3-week notice so that they can prepare and work with us to schedule those inspections so we can make it as seamless as possible for them.
Right, so no surprises, which is a huge positive of this plan.
Yeah, we don't want to have any surprises, and we want everybody to be prepared because really this is about health and safety. That's what we're trying to do. So hopefully people will understand that's really what this is all about.
Definitely, and we're going to be having more information on the next episode of City Manager's Report. We'll have a few staff members in to talk about some of the main points and things that we want to know about this rental inspections. So next item, another big one, Mark, is Resolution 16-490, accept and direct staff implementation of recommendations of Walker Parking Consultant Study of Downtown Parking. Tell us about that. Give us some background and where we ended up with this study.
This was another workshop that was held with council about a month ago, and the real issue was whether we were going to require and implement paid parking on street parking in the downtown area. And the Business Improvement District has looked at this, staff's looked at it, and basically the consultant is recommending that we have paid parking. That's the most desirable parking, and it's the one where we have the most problems. So if we can get that taken care of then and provide a funding source for it. But the whole idea is to make it easier for people to park even with paid parking. And the idea behind it is you have stations where you can input your parking, your license plate, or, and I want to implement this as soon as possible, an app on your phone where you can literally pay for it from your car when you drive up. And if it's raining, all you got to do is plug it in and put in your app. Then you can go wherever you need to go without running down to the station to put it in.
I love that idea.
Isn't it cool?
Or if you don't need to feed the meter, you were telling me too, if it's going to go over, you don't have to run back out to your car 2 miles away.
Pull up the app, just say, give me another 30 minutes, pay the extra 50 cents or 50 cents or something like that, and then you're done. No worries, no fuss. A lot of people think that we're going backwards with that, but actually that is a very common theme that's going on in other cities. Meanwhile, the parking lots behind a lot of the downtown businesses along Main Street, those are other areas, and we want to make sure that if people are going to be there for a longer period of time, go to lunch, go to a hair salon or places like that, we want them not to worry. So this will be free 3-hour parking. So then you can go there and you can go to a salon and get whatever treatment you need, and you'll have time to go there without rushing out, worrying if your 3 hours is going to run out. Right now we have 2 hours. It will extend it to 3. And then beyond that immediate area around the downtown, we'll have permit parking throughout the downtown. And the people who have permits will have to walk a little longer, but the businesses will benefit because their customers will have the most convenient parking available, and that's what this is about. Happy customers return, and they bring more business back to the downtown.
Wonderful. And as always, I have to ask you about time frame. When are we thinking that this will be implemented?
We'll probably, assuming council approves it, we will start working on it through the winter, but we won't be installing things probably until spring.
Wonderful. All right, Mark, next item, or one of the final items, I guess, is the budget workshops that we want to talk about, and that's coming up on October 17th and 18th. These are the all-day budget workshops. It's that time of year. Little preview for us?
Yes, well, we're going to be delivering the budget to council on Tuesday night, and basically the council spends an entire 2 days meeting with all the departments. So you'll get a good overview of the budget. I'm sure you can watch it on repeats on GovTV, but we just give a good overview for the council. The council looks into the issues surrounding each of the departments with the budget. We align it with our strategic plan, and hopefully council will have good information that when they eventually approve the budget in late November, that this workshop will enable them to have as much good information as they can so they can make the best decision possible.
Wonderful. Well, we're looking forward to a lot of great information coming out of those meetings. We are out of time for City Manager's Report already, Mark, so as always, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, happy to do it.
Again, the City Council meeting is this Tuesday, October 11th. It's at 6 o'clock p.m. You can watch it live on GovTV and on our website at oshkoshmedia.org, or listen to it on 101.9 Oshkosh FM, which is online and on the TuneIn Radio app for mobile devices. Make sure you like like Oshkosh Media on Facebook or follow us on Twitter for all of your community and government programming and updates, or check out our YouTube channel for government meeting replays and past episodes of your favorite programs. And I always have to make a reminder, if you have a question for City Manager Roloff, you can send it to us on Twitter at City of Oshkosh, post it to our Facebook page, or email it to us, and he'll answer it on the next episode of CMR. As always, thank you all so very much for joining us on City Manager's Report, and we'll see you next time.